Back in elementary school or in your grade 9 or 10 science classes, you probably learned about the Earth's spheres. And your teachers taught you about these 4 spheres that our planet is composed of. You also probably learned about the Earth's cycles, which is the movement of abiotic matter through the different spheres. One of these spheres that you probably learned about is the lithosphere, which your teachers might have also called the geosphere, which is the rocky crust of our planet plus the liquid rock of the upper mantle. The lower mantle and the core is part of the inner part of the planet. The lithosphere is not just inert rocks. It has a huge role in the formation of the other spheres of our planet, such as when volcanoes were involved in the formation of our atmosphere. It is also involved in many of the cycles on our planet, such as the phosphorus in the carbon cycle. In earlier grades, you might have also talked about the rock cycle, which you see here, which is the creation of the 3 types of rocks, the igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks. The sedimentary rock is the rock type that wouldn't have formed unless another sphere was actually involved in the process. If you guessed it was the hydrosphere, you're correct. The hydrosphere is the sphere involved with the creation of sedimentary rock, where water is often the medium that weathers down rocks into sediments. And then the sediments are washed away into oceans and eventually become sedimentary rock over millions of years. The hydrosphere itself was formed about 4.5 billion years ago, around the same time as when the atmosphere was formed. In our course, which might be different from what you've learned about this sphere in earlier courses, is that we consider the hydrosphere to be the liquid water sphere. In other words, it's the lakes, the oceans, rivers. Water, of course, is found within other spheres, such as the water vapor found within our atmosphere. The atmosphere is the sphere that most people remember, since it's the word that we most commonly use in our everyday vocabulary. You may have remembered from your earlier courses that it's the atmosphere itself. The atmosphere itself is made up of several layers, with the lower layer being the troposphere, which is the area that we actually depend upon for breathing, for air that we breathe. The atmosphere is not only connected to the hydrosphere, as we mentioned earlier with water vapor, within the water cycle, but it also is involved in other cycles such as the nitrogen cycle and, of course, the carbon cycle. This is a really important cycle since it syncs the other 3 spheres that we mentioned earlier, plus a sphere that we haven't mentioned yet. If you guessed it was the biosphere, you're correct. It is a unique sphere that uses and lives within the other spheres that we mentioned earlier. However, the one thing that you will have commonly seen in the diagrams, such as the one you see here, is that the biosphere is connected. The biosphere is connected with the lithosphere, which are rocks. Well, unless they are non-living fossils, living things aren't really found in rocks. They are really in the next sphere that we technically call the pedosphere. This is our planet's important soil layer. It is a major intermediate layer between the other 4 Earth spheres mentioned earlier. It has members of the biosphere within it. It has, and the biosphere depends upon it for the growth of plants. It also has moisture from the hydrosphere within it. It also has air within it from the atmosphere and is involved in the exchange of gases between the atmosphere, such as during the nitrogen and the carbon cycle. It is truly not the lithosphere since it isn't solid rock, and is made of a mixture of broken down rocks as well as decomposed soil matter, or decomposed organic matter. Earlier we talked about the hydrosphere, and I mentioned that it's the layer of liquid water. Well then, what about the frozen water as well, which it makes up about 79% of the world's fresh water? Well, the other sphere that should be able to include on our list is the cryosphere. It is also an intermediary layer between the other spheres since it's connected together closely with the hydrosphere, and it's also connected to the pediosphere through the layer of thick frozen soil we call the permafrost. It also is composed of the snow, sea ice, frozen rivers, and glaciers that we will often found on some of our continents like Antarctica, on Greenland, as well as up in the mountains. The other important sphere to mention is the magnetosphere. This sphere is extremely important since without it, the biosphere would have never evolved past being microscopic bacteria in the Earth's early oceans. It protects our planet's living organisms from harmful effects of solar and cosmic radiation, which would normally kill any living thing on our Earth if we didn't have this magnetic deflector. The last sphere to mention is the one that we'll be focusing on a lot within this course, which is the anthroposphere. In this sphere, it is the sphere that we humans have created when we've messed around with the Earth's other spheres. We have changed the Earth's other spheres so much that scientists now have decided that the time period in which humans have been messing around should have been given its own geological time period, which we're going to be calling the Anthropocene. And we're going to be talking a lot more about this in the next section. So in summary, in this course we move beyond just the four main basic spheres, and we also include other spheres that are important for the functioning of our planet, or in the case of the last sphere, the destruction of our planet.